Hello, beautiful lights. I am your host, Kimberly Barrett. Welcome to the Sharing Love and Light Show, Vibration and Consciousness on the Planet. I am a psychic medium, quantum energy healer, and intuitive coach here to help you experience light and love. On this show, I will help you tap into your personal power and shift your energy so you can step into your life's purpose and manifest your dreams. I believe that love is not a verb, it is a state of being. Stay with me for the next hour and unlock the quantum energy gifts that are already in you. You're listening to the Sharing Love and Light Show starting now. Hello, beautiful lights. I am your host, Kimberly Barrett, and you are listening to the Sharing Love and Light Show live on Transformation Talk Radio. We are here every first and third Tuesday from 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern for an hour talking about sharing our love and light and the vibration and consciousness on the planet. Tonight, we have a very special guest with us who will be sharing his love, light, and experience with us on the power of intention. In the past few shows, we've been talking about how sharing our love and light can help with the vibration and consciousness on our planet. This is a great friend of mine. He is also well known as That Energy Guy. Born and raised in small town Tennessee, he believed he was just meant to do things like work on cars and machines and electronics. However, through a series of events over 16 years ago, he directly experienced and learned about energy healing. He's now an empowerment coach, energy healer, teacher, and founder of Holistic Wellness Alignment. He's helped thousands of people restore their health, their well-being, and step into their personal power. So please welcome our special guest and my good friends, That Energy Guy, David Arms. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, so let's first talk about how you got into energy healing. Tell us your story.
Well, I started out, I had headaches for many years, and they developed into migraines. And I had a shop that I was working in daylight to way after dark, and the stress of the shop and all the things connected to it, I guess, just added to the migraines. And a couple of friends of mine came along one day, and they knew about my migraines, and they were sisters.
Uh-huh.
And they said, "Hey, we heard about this chiropractor that does energy work. We think you need to meet him." So I just kind of put that in my head, never really moved on it, but I didn't dismiss it completely. One afternoon, I get a phone call. They were together, and they said they were going to be pulling in my parking lot in 5 minutes. I needed to shut the doors and turn out the lights.
So they didn't give you time to really think it through. They just kind of said it's going to happen.
Yeah, they took hold and went. And it's kind of unusual that I went with them. You know, I usually buck when you're trying to mess with what I've got scheduled.
Yeah.
We went, and it just happened that was the evening that this guy put on, I'm going to call it a presentation for anybody interested in learning what he's up to.
Uh-huh.
And he used me as an example. And I went in, at that point, I had migraines to the point of if I could get a chiropractic adjustment to adjust the atlas and get it adjusted right, the migraines would go away for about 4 days. On the fourth day, I had a migraine coming on again.
And they just kept coming back. So it was really chronic.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was every 3 or 4 days, I was trying to find a chiropractor that could actually put that joint in, and could not seem to find one that could do it every time or even half the time. It's apparently a really tough joint to get in. But anyhow, I went in, I was on my fourth day when they took me over there, and he put me on the table and he held a few contact points and had me think about a few emotions, look a certain way with my eyes, open or close them. I don't really remember. breathe a certain way. And it took I gamble to say less than 2 minutes. And he had me sit up. I was laying back on the massage table.
Mhm.
He had me sit up and he says, "You should feel much better, my friend," and slapped me on the back. And I turned my head and it's like there wasn't an ounce of restriction anywhere. And it was torqued up so tight I couldn't hardly turn my head when I come in the door. And he didn't do any chiropractic. He only did energy work. So needless to say, he got my attention.
Yeah, because you weren't really into that kind of stuff. You were
I didn't
talking
know.
about being into
Yeah,
electronics and being kind of a good old boy and that kind of stuff. And here you are being introduced to energy work, right?
yeah. I knew nothing about it. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Started asking questions and paying attention. And next thing you know, I took the same training he had had, only just the basic class.
Hmm.
And at one point, I remember I was working on my brother-in-law. His father had committed suicide, and he's having a really tough time with that. And I was using what I had learned and trying to help him. And I'm in his energy, and I hear this female voice over my left shoulder, loud and clear. She said, "There's a better way." And there was no female in the room. And me being the logical guy I am, I'm going, okay, what's the variable here? And the only variable was I was in his energy. So I went back and I questioned it, and I got confirmation that that was the energy. So, spirit, whatever you want to call it, I said, okay, lead me on. And it's
Yeah.
been
And it sounds
cool.
like in your story also that it really piqued your interest because he cleared the headache and then it didn't come back.
Yeah, I didn't go there, did I?
Yeah, but I
Not only
brought you
did he,
back to it because I think that's important for the listeners to hear in your story that you had gone for a long period of time, every 4 days, getting back to those headaches. You see this guy one time and he's cleared out the headache. It's
well,
not back.
he didn't fix them, but
Uh-huh.
he stopped
He
it that
stopped
day.
them. Yeah.
So it was another, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 days before I had it going on again. And that's what drug me into the energy work.
Oh, and then you
So,
decided to do the energy work to see if you could keep it that way.
well, I was curious about it because, I'm hands on. You
Mhm.
gotta, you gotta feel it, smell it, taste it, something. And there was nothing with this energy work, and it took away all the stress and whatnot. Even though it was temporary, it was the layers. It took away those layers that were impacting me at the moment. So, needless to say, I piqued my interest and I started asking questions and learning. And I actually asked him to teach me a little bit because he was 70, I think, at the time, 70, 71. And he didn't have anybody to help him. And I told him, if you'll teach me, I'll hang around and help you. So he's like, yeah, well, that might work. And I think his biggest thing was he was afraid that I would take over his clients.
His clients at the time. Yeah. And that's
Because
not the
then,
direction you ended up going in.
well, yeah,
Right.
that wasn't my interest anyway. But um, I ended up working side by side with him for a long time. And we did what we called tag teaming. He would work on them a few minutes and get everything he could. And then I would step in and I'd work on them and get everything I could. And then I'd step aside and he'd step back in. And we did that back and forth, sometimes 10 or 12 times, depending on who
Mhm.
it was. But I learned a lot. He learned a lot.
And it sounds like before you knew it, you were into the energy. And then now you're working on someone that you care about that's had the suicide in their life. And I'm sure a lot of listeners might relate to the stress that you've talked about, having illnesses, having chronic pain, different things like that, having deaths in the family, and having help that's available for that. That's not just traditional medicine, that's also, energetically supporting us. Talk more about how you got into that and you started helping people energetically.
Well, for me, I'm looking at it and trying to figure out what this stuff does. When I figured out that the physical stuff in my neck was all emotional, that's just where I store my stuff.
That's
And
where you store all your emotions, is in your neck.
right.
Yeah.
And once I realized that, then I realized the emotions were creating the physical. And I wonder what other physical stuff emotions were creating. Well, then
Mm-hmm.
with the training that I took, there was a lot of insight that came. And then, of course, I'm always inquisitive anyway. So I get in there and I find out something. And next thing you know, I'm asking about it and seeing what I need to do to help people with it. And it's just turned into such a phenomenal way of getting rid of emotions that we've stored and being able to not be impacted by them on the anywhere near the same level. You know, common sense, if you've been in the habit of thinking, let's say suicidal thoughts, you've been in the habit of that for 10 years. I'm not going to be able to take away your habit. I can take away the draw for the habit. It's up to you to pay attention and stop walking into it, you know. But it's rather amazing at the amount of impact that our emotions are having on us with all this stuff.
Yeah, and especially over the past couple years with things that are going on, that I'm sure a lot of people have had more negative emotions that have come up, stress, fear, you know, just a lot of different stuff like that. And being able to be empowered to help themselves and to know that there is extra help through having energy healing done as well. You know, and that's something Dr. Pat and I were talking about. It probably would have been really helpful to Simone Biles to have energy workers available to her. You might not have heard, but Simone Biles is one of the top gymnasts in the world. She won gold, helped the US win gold like 4 times in a row, right? And she was back in the Olympics. And, you know, the great thing about her was she chose her self-care over continuing the Olympics and stepped out and allowed her, you know, someone else to step in and her team to move forward because she was struggling. But the thought of there is something that can help us even with what you're talking about, like these migraines weren't just the atlas being out of place in your neck, that it was a lot of stored up emotions that we've had pent up and held in the body. And that you found a solution where you can like release those emotions out and get some relief in the body is what I'm hearing from you.
Right. I've got a chiropractor friend that had, I don't remember the name of the machine, but he puts you on a chair that has you leaning forward, and he goes down your back with a tool and checks your alignment, and it brings it up on the computer and shows you what's in, what's out, you know, where the trouble areas are. And he checked me back when I was still kind of green at all of this, but learning. And he showed me where I was out, which was part of this whole thing. You know, I was working my way through getting away from chiropractic and into energy healing. So this was another piece of me working through it. But he went through and checked me because he was going to give me an adjustment. And I looked at the monitor and there were these like 3 different obvious red zones where I knew I had trouble.
Yep.
And I said, hang on a minute. And I stepped off the machine and I intended to align everything. And then I got back on it and had him check me again.
Which sets us right into, we're going to take a short break. And what that sets us into, what you just said, is that power of intention.
Exactly.
So when we come back, we'll jump back into talking about energy healing, getting into energy, and then starting to move into that idea of the power of the human being and the power of our intentions. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be back to talk more with that energy guy, David Arms, who's going to talk to us more about energy and the power of our intentions. We'll see you soon. Welcome back. You are listening to the Sharing Love and Light show with me, Kimberly Barrett. Before we continue, I want to let you know how to contact me. I can be reached through my website, sharingloveandlightshow.com. I have a special guest on tonight, David Arms, AKA That Energy Guy. If you would like to reach my guest, he can be reached through the website thatenergyguy.com. So we were talking earlier about your experience, David, with moving into energy medicine and, really starting to make that shift. And then you mentioned intention. Can you talk to us more about the power of intention?
Yeah, intentions are pretty simple, really, but the power that they have is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
The funny part is that we all, I say all, the majority of people think that you just do stuff. You don't think about it ahead of time other than worrying or whatever. But if you actually set your intention to how you want it to end up before you ever even do it, it'll start to blow your mind at the way things will change. And they'll start improving. For me, I can even get up and maybe not feel so good. Don't really feel energetic, or I'd rather just sit and do something, not even get up and be busy. And all I got to do is change my intentions. Set my intentions to feel great and be productive. And it's 30, 45 minutes, like wide open, and back going, whoa, I shifted that for myself, The stuff
So
that I
you're
teach.
talking about sometimes you're sitting around and you're feeling down and you set your intention and shift it. And this is something that I was talking about the last show was raising our vibration, right? And I was talking to my listeners about how there's different like frequencies and vibration of consciousness. So about where our consciousness is. Sometimes we can be in that lower consciousness of sort of like guilt, shame, blame, depression, anger, those type of things. And when we get in a higher consciousness, we're clearer, we're more awake, we're more aware, we're more present in the moment. So getting to that neutral consciousness where we're just present in the moment. And then even moving into those higher consciousnesses of like gratitude and appreciation. And what I'm hearing from you is sometimes, we don't feel like doing anything and we're just sitting around. Maybe we might get a little down, and that there's a power in intending. So tell me what intention really is. When you're setting an intention, it's simple, but how would you describe to someone, this is an intention, what do you do?
Well, one of the simplest ways I think of looking at it is you're on your path. It doesn't matter if you're actually on the right path or just a path. You're on your own path.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what happens, you're still on your path. So if you actually set your intention for it to be a certain way on your path, then the view I get is like you're pulling all these energies in to help make that particular path flow a certain way for you. So if you intend to have a great day, then you're putting energies in to help attract things to make the day feel like a great day. It really doesn't matter what term you use, but you're pulling energies in to make that happen. So it's all about, I want to say, creating it, because you're putting the energies ahead of you instead of having them follow behind you. So if you're just out there doing, it's almost like being drafted by a semi. You get in behind the semi and it kind of pulls you, but it goes where it wants to go, not where you want to go, And that's kind of the way, if you're not setting your intentions, that's what you're doing to your day, is you're letting it draft behind you instead of you're letting it be behind, because you've already told it what you want.
The power of intending what you want in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm getting a little bit of feedback. We're going to skip the break and keep talking about intention. And what I'm hearing from you is just that simple, like most of us are on automatic pilot. We're not paying attention to what we're thinking. And what I'm hearing from you is that power of the human thought, that where our thoughts are. And Abraham Hicks talks a lot about this, that where your thinking is what you're creating in your reality.
Right.
And so you can on purpose set your intention and set yourself up for a better day. And I know this was one of the things when you came into my life, and that was I think 6 years ago now, when we were at the shop called Illuminations, and David was teaching. We have a big expo every year in Tennessee. And David was actually teaching, I think you were teaching at Illuminations on a Sunday about intention. And it really shifted a lot of things for me. So I was hoping you could share with my listeners sort of what you teach with setting a daily intention, right? So setting that intention for how I want the day to go, setting the intention. You talked a lot about the night before. So if you can share that teaching with us, that would be fabulous. If you can talk about that.
Yeah, to me, that's sort of like the basics. Understanding that when you're going through your day, you're accumulating energy. And once you lay down and go to sleep, it's like when you hit that, whatever that realm is that you go into when you really go to sleep.
It's like a reset button.
Yeah. But the energies kind of stick at that point. The stuff you've not let go of just sort of, it's there. And it's not as easy to release once you've hit that sleep mode. Mm-hmm. So one of the key intentions to do is at night before you lay down, intend to release any accumulated energies that are not of your highest and greatest good, or any energies you've accumulated through the course of your day that are not of your highest and greatest good. And keep it simple. It kind of goes back to that friend of ours that I was teaching intentions, had her doing intentions, modifying her intentions. My thought on intentions is they need to be short as possible, simple sentences.
And so it's sort of like, I intend to release everything created today that no longer serves my highest and best. And that would be enough.
Yeah, or well, it's like this particular intention is releasing what you've accumulated.
So I intend to release everything I've accumulated today that no longer serves my highest and best.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't, then when you lay down and go to sleep, that kind of sticks. So if you think, oh, well, I forgot it last night, I'll do it this morning. Well, you'll get part of them. You'll get all of it because you screwed up and slept on it. But this friend of ours used to take all of her intentions and combine them and make just one big flowing, beautiful paragraph. And I asked her one time how her intentions were going, and she said, they're not good at all. I'm not seeing anything. So when we talked about it, I said, let's share them with me and let's see what's going on. So she just pulled her piece of paper out and she read off this big paragraph of all these butterflies and roses and all this beautiful stuff. And I realized her intentions were working. She was trying to create one great big intention.
So it wasn't working because she was putting too much into it, made the intention too big.
Well, the way I view it, and you can argue the point all day long, but it doesn't change the facts. The simplest way I know to put it is just like when you do mail order stuff. If you order one item, then whoever you order it from has one opportunity to mess up. If you order 30, they've got 30 opportunities to mess it up. And when we're looking at this, it's actually you doing the ordering that will mess it up. So by putting in your order one thing at a time, you stand a whole lot better chance of getting part of them correct and not messing up the intentions with your thoughts.
So start with a short, sweet intention and just set it and just say it, and then move on to the next intention if you have another one. What's your nightly routine for intentions that you generally use?
Well, I use that one that I gave you first, the releasing anything not of my highest and greatest good that I've accumulated through the course of my day. The next one is I need to get rest. So I even explain this. Pay attention to the difference in the meaning of the word rest and sleep. Mm-hmm. you can rest without sleeping.
So I intend to get a good night's rest.
Rest.
Okay.
If you intend to get a good night's sleep, and this is another thing that so many people get caught up in, they can't go to sleep, so they're beating themselves up for the whole time they're not sleeping, instead of laying there and trying to relax and get the rest. So from that perspective, I intend to get a good night's rest, and I let it go. And the next one that I look at, I'll think about in the morning what time I want to wake up, and kind of out of the corner of my eye, I can see a clock. And I'm going to say that, let's say it's 7 o'clock. I see that the clock says 7 o'clock. So in my mind's eye, not really seeing it, but in my mind's eye, I'm seeing this clock saying 7 o'clock. And I intend to wake rested and refreshed and ready for my day. And I've got that picture of that 7 o'clock clock. More often than not, I'll wake up 30 minutes before that time frame.
And you feel well rested and ready to start the day.
Ordinarily.
So it's practicing setting the intentions. And I tell all my listeners, don't trust us, test it. Like test it out. And I know you, David, that you wouldn't have gotten to do any of this stuff if you weren't actually testing it and looking for the results. Yep. Testing it and seeing if it's actually working for you, and then making adjustments from there. So I'm hearing a nightly routine that's like setting that intention to release whatever it is I've accumulated over the course of the day that's no longer serving my highest and best. And then setting an intention to get a good night's rest, right? Because sometimes if you can't sleep, at least you can get rest that night. So a good night's rest. And then setting that intention, if you really need to get up at a certain time of day, you're going to kind of see that time that you're going to get up, or just set a time, I need to get up at 8 and set my intention. I'm going to wake up well rested and ready to start the day. Right. And then see how it goes. So that's an offering for all of you. The other one that I thought about, David, was, the other general intention that you teach all of us. And I think you know which one I'm talking about. I tend to be self-critical, hard on myself. Sometimes my mind can even go from being hard on me to being hard on others, or judging life as it is. And so what can you offer the listeners as far as counteracting that kind of energy?
Well, there's a lot of different ways of going with that one.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like the concept of being content. Be content with yourself. You could step it up and say, be happy with myself. But you set an intention to, I intend to be happy with me.
I intend to be content with myself and content with whatever's going on in the moment, that I'm just going to be content with me. And I was talking to a friend earlier. We've read books like The Untethered Soul by Gay Hendricks, some of the other things that we were talking about. And they talk about that same thing, that making a commitment to myself that my happiness comes from within me, and that I'm just going to make a commitment that I intend to be happy. I just intend to be happy and intend to be content. I was thinking about the one, and I was kind of trying to get you to say it, but I'll just say it out loud. Okay. One of my favorite ones, just for my listeners to know, that David actually taught me, is to set an intention to do no harm in thoughts and words towards self and toward others. So can you talk to us about that one and how it's helpful? And, if we need to reset it sometimes, just whatever teaching you have around that.
Yeah, that one to me, it's a pretty neat one. And I think everybody should do that. Everybody on the planet should do that every day. But if you set your intention to create nothing negative for anyone or anything, including yourself, mm-hmm. It doesn't stop you from creating anything. It stops the random unknown, the little, you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off, and, the little comments that you would make, or thoughts, whatever. When you bump your toe, when you drop something, all the little things that you sometimes fuss at yourself because you did. It
Mhm.
changes what you create from that. So it's not a negative anymore, it's neutral. And my understanding of it is that by continually saying, I intend to create nothing negative for anyone or anything, including me, what you're doing is you're little by little bringing things to your awareness that you are doing that's creating, whether it be for you or other people or whatever. It brings that awareness. And at some point, if you can stay on that path, you should find yourself basically creating absolutely nothing negative, because you're going to keep having awarenesses and understand what you're doing, whether it be to you or other people, and start shifting it. You can't change things you're not aware of that you're doing. I say you can't. That's not likely to happen.
Well, that makes sense. And I was talking about that in one of the episodes, is increasing your awareness through mindfulness. And mindfulness is simply paying attention on purpose in the present moment without judging what you're noticing. And so setting that intention, it, really helps to increase that awareness when you are having those thoughts. So like if I have thoughts about not being enough, or, I didn't do that well, or whatever the critical mind is saying in that moment, that I can notice it. And when it's in my awareness, that gives me that opportunity to shift. And I had a friend recently even talking to me about, they've done brain studies and neurological studies now about two different pathways in the brain. And one goes down this like more negative pathway. And then this other one, you can take yourself in those more positive pathways. But you have to have the awareness and see those thoughts going on in order to shift them. And that's that part of it, is to start to increase that awareness. And you've been talking to me a lot about that, increasing that awareness, where if the past comes up, recognizing that's the past, taking the lessons learned from that, releasing the stuff that I don't need anymore, and then facing forward. But facing forward in a way where I'm not going into the future negatively, I'm facing forward in a way that I'm standing in my moment and turning toward the future, setting my intention to like clear my path, make it easy, right? Set my intention to throughout the day, have a clearer mind and have that awareness, right, that's going on.
Yeah, to me, that's quite important. We don't pay any attention to where we're at and what we're doing more often than not. We're just experiencing and bulldozing right on through.
Yeah, a lot of us call that automatic pilot, right?
Yeah. But to me, it goes back to things like, let's say you encounter somebody at 10 o'clock in the morning and they tick you off and really get you going, and come 5 o'clock, you're still stuck in that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're not paying attention. You're stuck in looking backward at what happened earlier instead of looking forward at what you've already set up to have coming your way. And it's like there's a lack of awareness of, for one, paying attention to what's going on, and two, looking forward for what you've created, and expecting this awesome day or whatever it is that you've created.
Oh yeah, so that's the other part. You just triggered it for me. The other part, to shift back to talking about nighttime. So we set that intention to release what we've accumulated. We've set our intention to wake up well rested, and then that well rested and ready to start the day at that time we need to get up. Talk also about setting, how you want your day to go the next day.
Yeah, to me, that's probably the most important one.
Mm-hmm.
Although I find the one about waking rested and refreshed and ready for my day and seeing that clock thing, and you know,
That's helpful. Yeah.
that's an awesome one. But if you'll take time and like look over your day and give it a grade, look backward over whatever kind of day you had and say, well, it was okay, it was good, it was blessed, it was, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Just be honest with yourself at
It was a fair day. It was a good day. It was a great day. Just something general like that.
right.
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to be looking forward at tomorrow, and you're going to be giving it a designation as to how you want it to be. So you need to base that on how today was. So if today was a good day, then you don't want to create a day tomorrow that's any less than what today was. You want it to be at least as good as today. If today was a great day, hey, and you want to intend a great day tomorrow, more power to you. But you don't want to go less. You always want to intend for the day to be better.
Either the same or better, right? Yeah.
But recognizing that you don't have any control, basically, you don't have any real control over what you've already created that's coming your way. But you can add more positive to it. So just saying, if you look at your day to day and it was a good day, then intend that tomorrow will be at least a good day. I'd say go shift it up and make it a great day. I guess I could look backward at the story when I was told to set my intention to have a magically awesome day. And that's what I did. I set my intention for tomorrow to be a magically awesome day. So I get up the next morning and things are kind of rolling along, and I had to make a trip up Kingsport. It's about 40 minutes from here to where I was going. And it was a really pretty day, and I decided to ride the motorcycle instead of driving the car. So I get the bike out and I take off down the road. Well, at the end of this road that I live on, there's a cement place. The big trucks come up and down right through that intersection, and they have rutted and dipped the road all to pieces. So I'm riding the bike down to that intersection, and it's like, I always dread it because it's so rough and hard to hang on to.
It's a big challenge for someone on a motorcycle. If you're on a Harley and you're on that, it's a big challenge. Yeah.
But I went just as smooth across that thing as I could ever imagine. And I stopped, and it was a dead stop. You had to turn right or left. And I was going left, but when I went to pull out, the bike leaned to the right and then countered and went back after moving just a little bit, because that part of the road was dipped too. And it was just as smooth as the previous part. So right there was enough. But then I get on up and hit 11W, and it's a divided highway. Yep, pretty good sections between that they mow sometimes, trees in other parts, whatever. Pretty nice road. And I'm riding along, and it's like I'm in a bubble. I was fully aware of everything, but it's like I was in a bubble. I felt like I was in a bubble. And it was so cool. I rode all the way up, did my business, turned around and was heading back. Same bubble. And I'm sitting back, looking over the day and going, that was magically awesome.
Yeah. So if you ask for a good day, look for it. If you ask for a great day, look for it.
If you ask for magic, look for the magic in it.
You ask for a magically awesome day, look for it. I asked for a love-filled day when I was at the beach.
I remember that.
And, sometimes I have fears around people when I get around people that I don't know, and I can, get in my head or be a little awkward at times. And it doesn't look like it sometimes because I can act like I'm really extroverted when I'm not. And I set this intention of just having a love-filled day the night before. And when I woke up, I went out on the beach, and I woke up in time for the sunrise, which was unusual for me because I'm a late sleeper, not rise with the sunrise. And I got to have that experience. I got to experience, little children getting all excited about the ocean. And that was like a lot. I was just paying attention. Even this woman, she was like walking along, just having a blast. And I looked at her and I was like, oh, that's so great. And she goes, this was all made just for you. And it was like, oh, all my experiences are made just for me, and that's what she was talking about, that she was thoroughly enjoying what she had created for herself. And I've brought that back with me, where I've set some love-filled days at home, and I've gone in to do certain jobs and things like that, and discovered, that love-filled day is there no matter what I'm doing, in places that I wouldn't expect to feel good or have those experiences. So I really encourage any of the listeners to test this stuff out. We're going to get ready to go on another break. And we have been talking to that energy guy, David Arms, about the power of intention and the power that we have as human beings to set our intention and create, a more peaceful life, a happier life, the life that we really want, and to be able to use intention as your kind of, power in your life, rather than being on automatic pilot all the time and just allowing life to drag you along, and ending up having, not just a bad day, but I used to have bad months and bad years. Right. So we are going to take a break, and we will be back shortly. Welcome back. You're listening to the Sharing Love and Light Show with me, Kimberly Barrett. And I have my special guest here today, that energy guy, David Arms. Before we get back into our conversation about the power of intention, I want to make sure you know how to contact us. I can be reached through my website, sharingloveandlightshow.com. And you can reach David Arms through his website, thatenergyguy.com. So coming back to David, this has been fun. I know that both of us had set our intention prior to even coming on this, so that we would flow with your teachings. So to kind of wrap it up, I know you talk a lot about how a lot of us don't realize how powerful we are as human beings. Can you kind of, in your own words, share about that?
Yeah, one of the things that kind of sticks in my mind is the fact that so many people are living unconscious of their spirituality, and the fact that thoughts are things, thoughts are real, so they're creating something somewhere. And so many people are living, when you think about the drama side of life, you're living in drama all the time. Well, you're creating more drama with your thoughts and your energy. You're attracting it. So it's like we just keep building a mountain of, we'll call it garbage, around ourselves. You really don't have much choice. You just keep attracting more and more and more. It's like I've got people in my world that have so much stuff going on. I mean, it's hard to imagine any one person can have so much problem or problems going on. And it's like they think that's the way it's supposed to be. They've been a victim all their life, and the longer they're a victim, the more they create more victims.
Yeah.
If they would set their intentions to have an awesome day and watch for it and see things shift, instead of just allowing it to continue to go on the way it's been going on. We get so caught up in drama and our life, we sort of overlook the fact that we're really in charge of it.
Yeah, and that's...
They won't tell you you're not. I got news for you. You are.
Yeah, and that's my understanding, is that we really are so much more powerful as human beings. And you just described my early part of my life. Is I lived as a victim. I was in automatic pilot, not very aware of what was going on. And I just continued to create more and more of the stuff that I didn't want. And it wasn't until I learned about really like mindfulness at first, like becoming really aware of my thoughts, finding out that my thoughts are not like, I get over attached to my thoughts. I'm like caught up in them as if they're real, and then play with them a whole lot, when really thoughts are just energy. And be careful what you think and this is what I had, one of my mentors would say, watch what you're thinking right now because you're creating your tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I would notice my thoughts and go, ooh, I'm shifting, and that's what I love about what you're saying is that once you become aware, you increase that awareness, you notice what's going on, then you can start to choose. And that's where our personal power is, and is in that power of being able to choose differently. And that's what I'm hearing from you, that we can actually choose to set our intention the night before and have it set up for us to be able to, really set our day as a better day. I've even set up things like I have a workshop coming up or this radio show coming up, and be able to set that intention that it's going to go well.
And then watch it go well.
Yeah. And then talking about a different topic, which we'll get into on another day, which is letting go and allowing. That then you want to step into that flow and like let go and allow. And how many of us can set our intentions and really have like everything all set up, and then not allowing, like really like gripping the steering wheel too tight and getting in our own way. And I know you talk about that you help people get out of their own way, right? So to wrap it up, talking about that power of intention, and this is just a quick question. Can you summarize a little bit of what you've talked about with us so far in like bullet points of like what's really important? What do you want the listeners to take away with them?
Probably the biggest thing is to be more intentional with their living. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily have to set intentions as much as intentionally do stuff. You don't just intend to go to the store. You intend to go to the store and enjoy it. You don't just intend to go pay for your tags. You intend to have a great experience when you go pay for your tags. Whatever it is, try to live it on an intentional level. And for me, the biggest thing is based on my experience, the biggest thing is setting your intentions ahead of time. But again, the main bullet is to live intentional.
Live intentionally, and that's live in conscious awareness intentionally. I intend to be happy today. Then throughout the day, I'm going to pay attention. And when I become unhappy, I'm going to look at what's going on and shift it.
Well, you
because
look at that,
I intend to be happy.
Look at that motorcycle ride that I took, and I set my intention to have a magically awesome day the night before. And I've been down that road, I could not tell you how many times on the motorcycle, and have never experienced that before. So,
and that you really like, even, resetting the intention when you wake up in the morning, this is going to be a magically awesome day. And I love what you said. And that's something that one of my mentors said years ago. She said, I think because for me at the time, I couldn't get through 2 sentences without beating myself up back then. That was really like where I was. And she said, you might need to ask for a miracle. And then she followed it with, but if you ask for a miracle, right, remove this, and it would be you saying, release this from me, like just release it. Mm-hmm. Then she said, the important part is then you need to look for it. If you're going to ask for it, look for it. So if you start setting intentions, and I'm telling my listeners this, if you start setting your intentions for yourself and you attempt to live an intentional life, look for it.
Right.
Right? We have a couple minutes left. Anything left that you'd like to tell the listeners that would be supportive to them at this time?
There's so many things,
I know it all like runs through your head. You're like, what's the most important thing to say? And
well, to me, the biggest thing is recognizing you don't have to live in fear. You don't have to live in pain. You don't have to live poor. It's your choice. Whether you recognize it or not, it's a choice. Learn what it is you're doing that's creating that kind of existence for you. And most of it is nothing but your thoughts.
And that comes from direct experience as well, right? Not just saying it, but from David and I both, that's from our direct experience, that we've been there and been in it, and you don't have to live that way anymore. So thank you so much, David, for coming on, for sharing your experience, strength, and hope. David has also created a way that you can empower yourself. It's called Holistic Wellness Alignment. David also offers energy healings. So you can reach him at his website. It's thatenergyguide.com. I highly recommend it. Also, my closing message to all of you, as always, to remember that love is not a verb, right? Love is a state of being. It is an energy we can tap into and a level of consciousness we can move into. We can start to open our hearts, start to shift our lives. And through this, as I've talked about before, when you empower yourself and you start to live a life intentionally, as David's talking about, then we start to raise the consciousness on the planet. Because as each of us wake up, as each of us start to shift, as each of us step into living that heart-based life, then we're shifting that consciousness on the planet. So David, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. We're going to wrap it up. Just remember to join me every first and third Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio for sharing love and light, vibration, and consciousness on the planet. Till next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Sharing Love and Light Show, Vibration and Consciousness on the Planet, with me, Kimberly Barrett. Remember, love is not a verb, it is a state of mind. You've spent the last hour experiencing love and light and tapping into the quantum energy that already exists in you. But the journey doesn't stop here. Tune in every first and third Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio, as we continue exploring the energetic shifts happening in and around us. With love and light, see you next time.